All right, Fyzee, so let's talk about the rental crisis affecting Sydney right now. If listeners don't know, right now there's a bit of a pickle when you're trying to go and find rental places, especially in Sydney. This means that when you go and apply for a new place that you're renting, you're gonna compete against hundreds of applicants in there just to get a new place. Worst case, which is adding more fire, fuel to this fire, is that there's some real estate agents that are pretty much being dodgy, that they causing bidding wars between applicants to actually rent a place.
So before we go any further, with bidding wars, just to explain, what does that mean? Like, say if I'm a real estate agent and I'm asking you to bid on rent, what does that mean exactly?
Let's make it clear, this is illegal. You're not meant to do this, especially as a real estate agent. Like,
so I'm being illegal? Yeah.
And then it means, let's say someone posts online, real estate.com.au, whatever, renting a place for $100 a week. But then the agent takes advantage of the fact that there's probably 50 people applying for it, and then someone then says, oh, you know what, you are willing to pay you $600, so an extra $100 a week. But then you got someone else that says, oh look, I'm willing to give you $700. And then some agents, if they notice that you look like the type that's going to help them out, which is not really a good thing to do, they'll tell you, look, you're competing against these guys, they just offer X amount, or you can put your best offer in. And then that's a bidding war, because then everyone's pretty much trying to bid just to rent a place.
Yeah,
which is it's just awful.
Yeah, and it's definitely very illegal, and the people doing that are very unethical, and shouldn't be doing that. Continue.
And pretty much all of these is adding more fuel into the rental crisis. Now, our podcast, as everyone knows here, it's about immigrants, and pretty much the interesting thing that appeared in the recent articles is the record migration that's happening in Australia. And then those immigrants that come in here on student visas, or pretty much working visas or working holidays, they have nowhere to live. There's nowhere for them to crash because of this rental crisis happening right now. But then the Australian government is pretty much still accepting visas, they're still accepting people, and then these people are coming here just to try and find a better life or improve on their education. We know that they're going to struggle because of what's going on. Now, the other cherry on top as well is recently Porter Davis, a huge builder in Australia that pretty much just went south.
Yeah, and so they were primarily based out of Melbourne. They had a lot of contracts there. And I was reading some article. Basically, they were going crazy on different building contracts. I think they had a couple of hundred projects in the pipeline that they were going to build. And they were accepting deposits for building like right up until like the last day. And the customers obviously had no idea that things were going to go south. Generally, when you sign up to a builder and you want to build a house, it's all very regulated. So, you don't even think twice about the company's stability.
Because no one saw this coming at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're quite big. One of my customers that I worked with in the past, actually, when I was a broker, built with that builder as well. But that was a couple of years ago. So I'm praying that he finished his build. Otherwise, he's going to be in that bucket as well. But it is very, very tough from a home ownership perspective, because if you are building a house to live in, more than likely you're going to be renting for the time being, and seeing your house being constructed, it's a very emotional thing. And just, seeing that being delayed or taken away from you, it takes a huge emotional toll. Like for myself as well, we built our house in Sydney. It took quite some time, but we finally got there, and we were scrutinizing every little detail of the house, making sure it's all perfect. So it's a very emotional thing, and it's quite sad for those people, but hopefully they get a new builder or whatever. But yeah,
this means they're pretty much starting from scratch. Get a new builder, new finance, new everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, banks are pretty they don't really like things changing too much when it comes to this aspect, so they're gonna have to apply again, get an approval for higher amount. Technically, or generally speaking, their building contract will be a bit higher than previously, because no new builder is going to take on the building contract at the previous price, so they'll have to fork out an extra 10-20% whatever, which means getting new finance or getting the funds from their savings. So it's a bit of a messy situation. And
then I was going to say, another huge impact that's happening here as well is the government inaction. So the government is pretty much not doing anything. So people who don't own their home, pretty much you should brace for more rent rises. That's pretty much how they see things, which is just awful.
Yeah.
Because it means that you might end up on the street, or you might end up couch surfing for a while. Now, I've been in that situation. It's not great, to be honest, especially when you try to rent and then it's just hard to actually find a new place to live. Now, if you've got great friends and then they can help you out, you can do a bit of surf couching, but the problem is that you live in out of a backpack pretty much. All your belongings is literally a couple of bags and that's it. And forget about having a toaster or having your own cups to make tea and that sort of stuff. You can't bring anything. It's just your clothes and that's it.
And it's a very temporary solution. I mean, if you want to actually build yourself up and have a family or whatever, it's just very, very tough to do. What was the other thing I was going to speak about is, in terms of stats. So we talked about the rental crisis and new immigration into Australia. So tell me at the moment, what do the stats look like in terms of people coming into Australia in the next, say, in the current applications in the pipeline? And then what is the rental crisis looking like in terms of vacancy rates? Just to put it in numbers.
Let's go quick on vacancy rates. So right now it's below 1%. So what that means is that in theory, every property that's being rented in Sydney, it's already taken. So that means that there's officially nowhere to live by those figures. Now we're talking about a couple of million houses, properties that are being rented right now. So that means that 1%, there's tens of thousands, few of them that are pretty much available for everyone, which is really tough. Especially when you're competing to get a place. Now, when it comes to immigration, the government pretty much opened up the visa programs, and then they're pushing hard to get more people in, like especially for student visas. And then the expectation is that there's roughly like 500,000 people that are going to come in the next 12 months.
And is that nationally, or is that just in Sydney or New South Wales? So
that's meant to be nationally, but then, as everyone knows, if you come to Australia, you're going to come to Sydney first, because usually you try and get access to the best unis. Not saying that Sydney has the best universities. We can check the ranking and then to get a bit of competition there. But then ranking wise, you could say it's the easiest one to get into. Look, there's a lot of programs out there, especially to get access to university in Queensland, Melbourne, that sort of stuff. But then usually these student visas, especially if they're being supported by the family, the parents, they tell them, look, go to Sydney, go to a main city, you'll be safer, it'll be better, until you get used to things. So that happens a lot. So pretty much we know that there are a lot of other people are going to stop by at least here.
And in terms of, I guess, moving forward, what do you think is the solution, or what can people do to like help themselves? I know it's a pretty tough thing to go through, not having a place to live, but what are some of the ways that they can look at doing, I guess, making the situation better? Because less than 1% is like historic lows, isn't it? Like in this sort of millennia, it's pretty much ridiculous. Historical
lows in pretty much the last decade, which is just bad. To be honest, for me, when I was in that situation, it was doing. There's a website actually called Couchsurfing.
Oh, really?
Yes. So pretty much I did use that when I couldn't get my friends to help out, and then give me a spot. And then you literally pay someone like $10-20 just to couch surf. And then if you're lucky, they'll just do it for free just to help out. And they do it because they've been there. So they've lived through it, they know how bad it is and that sort of stuff. And the other one is pretty much flatmates. That's another way that I used to find places.
Yeah, flatmates. I used to see their billboards back in sort of when I used to work in that area of Marrickville.
They did a huge ad campaign. Yeah, I've seen those. And then pretty much the flatmates that come to you, that's just people that are renting a place and they have a couple of rooms spare, and then just go and talk to them. And then all it is just message them, see if they respond to you, see what they're looking for, have a chat with them, see if you get along with them, and then just try your best. Because there's a lot of places right now that are popping up for shared accommodation, which honestly, it's not the best, because you sometimes find places you might not like the people, not get along with them. But then if it's temporary, you can stay there for a couple of months and then just leave for another place. And then as long as you tell everyone, you're going to keep the peace.
I think one thing I want to mention as well is when you're going for to apply to live in a place and rent it out and rent it as a tenant, it is to actually research how to have a good rental application, because real estate agents are looking at so many applications from different people, prospective tenants. If you can just look at how to get good references, really embellishing your application, I think could be considered a bit more, and you were going to say something there?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you haven't done any rental applications recently, anyone that's done them, they're just bad. it's literally like you're applying for a job. They ask
yes.
for a cover letter, they ask for recommendations, they ask for all your details. You need to say, it's literally like you're doing a job application.
Yeah, it was shocking. I didn't think you needed that many things.
It's a waste of so much time. Like, you need to find a place, to live. But then you're going to waste a good chunk of hours, days just applying.
But you know what? That is also a filtering mechanism for people to sort of weed out the people that aren't too serious and just looking at the best of the best.
Yeah,
it's horrible, but
they
like
do these because look, if anyone trying to find a place, let's say in the West, they know that most houses are just falling apart. Unfortunately, especially with the landlords not looking after them, full of mold, and then the room's just wet, and then that sort of stuff, and then they do that for those places.
Like full-on application for places like that.
And then it's like the place is falling apart.
There's this reminds me, there's this TikTok account that just looks at the worst rentals in Sydney, and it just goes through the listing, looks at the photos and how run down the place is, how the kitchen is just falling apart, bathroom is just like a little, there's no tiles, nothing, and it's hilarious. And it's always the case that the real estate agent is just marking up the place so much. It just costs so much to rent, and what you're getting for it is just a rip-off. So it's good to see people like that calling out, things, and not just accepting, what's out there. So that's good. But we were going to speak more about the immigrant side of things as well. So do you want to go through that?
Yeah, because look, the connection here is that between immigration and rental crisis. The problem here, it seems that the news are going to start blaming immigrants on the rental crisis, even though borders opened up a couple of months ago and then people are just starting to come back. But then the issue was there already.
Yeah.
And honestly, government's not giving enough subsidies to actually build new places. You got the famous NIMBYs, not in my backyard, pretty much.
Yep. So explain that. What does that mean?
So these are people pretty much that own houses, and they've been living in that suburb for a long time. And these are areas that should be, let's say, high density, that people should be building apartments, and then it's closer to the city, that sort of stuff. And then that they just complain and they just don't want any developments going on.
Yeah,
I think I'm trying to remember the top areas in there. One of them was Bondi, another one was like Mossman.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. So and these are pretty much the zero developments for the last 5 years. Which, if you just arrived to Sydney or you've been here for a couple of years, you know that there's a lot of cranes up in the sky right now just making new buildings. So there's always buildings happening all the time. And
yeah, look, it's pretty sad because. Look, I kind of get it as a homeowner as well. And it's weird, right? Because if I was to ask my dad, would he want new developments in our area? Like, would he want like townhouses built where, in a given block of land, you could have say 2 or 3 houses instead of one? He would be strongly opposed to that. But the weird situation is we were in that situation as well, where we were renting and we needed a sort of house to live in, right? So it's a weird dynamic where the people that have it...
You're secretly an NIMBY, that's what you're telling me.
I'm saying that generally a lot of people are secretly NIMBYs. And you can kind of see it from the homeowner's perspective as well. Like when they've got a place to live, they don't want new houses built in the area because it's going to cause more traffic, more pollution, more noise. Nobody wants that, right? But at the same time, it's what's required to service these people that are coming into the country and wanting to start a new life. And it's what's required. And the thing is, a lot of the people in these wealthier areas of Sydney simply have got the influence, networks, money, whatever, to sort of not have these developments happen, right? As you said, last 5 years, no developments in that area because, they have the power, influence, they're able to change things and not let it happen. So it is a big issue that we need to acknowledge as well, because we can all talk about building more, but if the actual people themselves in the area are not willing to do it, then it's never going to happen, right? So it's a bit sad. But it's also the reality in terms of how people behave. Once they get something, they don't want other people to have it for their own because it's going to compromise their own benefits, right? But I think another important thing as well is apartments, right? There's a lot of opportunity for that. So do you want to talk a bit more about...
Yeah, so pretty much, let's say apartment living and then living in a house. I think it's more a bit of a life stage that you're on, and then accepting what you actually want to buy or what you should be affording. Because then the Australian dream that's being pushed is you should buy a house.
Yes, with a backyard and a
huge backyard, 600 square meters or more, and then it's you got everything there. And then that dream, I for me, that doesn't exist. It's just a dream. That's all it is. Because then I've opted to not buy a house because like I don't want to borrow $1 million and then just because then like you have to borrow like a crazy amounts of money just to get a house. Now even it gets even worse if you're trying to live closer to the city. Like if you like the inner west or if you like the eastern suburbs, it's like you gotta be rich just to buy in that rich area. So it's like not everyone can buy. That's another thing. And then even if you can afford, let's say, to borrow $1 million, and nowadays you can't even buy close to the city. You have to go to the outer suburbs.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta go where the ethnics live. And I think the other thing is, as bad as it sounds, I think people also need to warm up to the idea of having to live in apartments as well. And it's not the ideal situation, but I think there needs to be more focus on having an apartment space which has parks as well, like has sort of a bit of a garden. So it's not just you're cramped in a building. There's places you can walk to, and having more of a community feel to it, right? I think is very important, because as bad as it sounds, I feel like not everybody can have a house with a backyard. It's just not feasible anymore with how quickly Sydney is growing. So I think these solutions it has to be a mix of things. It can't just be everybody just gets a house with a good backyard. It's just there's just not enough land in Sydney where we're surrounded by like mountains.
I was gonna say, when it comes to like high rises or high density areas, let's say example is Chatswood, you got Greensquare, you got Liverpool, and then I'm pretty sure the developments there for high density and the houses didn't fall in prices. They just kept going up. So that's another thing that's interesting about like the NIMBYs in this case, people that don't want developments. It's not about them not seeing like a 5-10 floor apartment. There's something else in there, unfortunately, which is that they don't want more people that are not from their area, from whatever their community that they want to, let's say, be part of. But it's a bit of, let's say, of being marginalizing or like new people coming into the area. Because that's more along the lines,
They just want to see more of their own and not other people, I guess, much. In a sense. So there's some deeper problems there, and they're trying to mask it with saying, "Oh, we don't want to see big developments." Yes,
that's pretty much the push that it seems that they're doing there. Yeah. And then the last one that happened recently is April. We got the interest rates, so they decided to pause. So that's another thing that happened probably last week, and then now everyone's just saying that the prices in Sydney, Melbourne bottomed out, so now everything's going to go up again.
And the speculation begins once again. But it is a pretty big moment with the rate rise stopping for this month, and it looks like it might stop for the next couple of months.
Regarding the interest rates for you at work, has there been any big changes?
So we're just moving with the market at the moment. For any new customers, we're just increasing the rates as the RBA comes. We're passing it on fully, as like other banks are. And I think for customers that are with their bank for a long time, I think they should definitely look at negotiating the rates, because generally speaking, if you're with a bank for more than a year or two, your rates are going to be higher than the newer customers. So definitely look at that. But I've been speaking to some of my customers, and they're feeling quite good about the rate rise stopping for a bit, giving them some relief, because rates are definitely going into the 5s, and for business loans into the 6s. So it is quite an expensive cost. Some of my customers who have line of credit, which is a very expensive but flexible product, they're paying like 8% on it, which is ridiculous. But they like the flexibility, which is fine. But it's definitely getting up there. So it is good to see some stoppage in the rates. But the other important thing as well is the fact that fixed rates are expiring as well, with the mortgage cliff that has been referenced in the articles a lot.
So pretty much what they call a mortgage cliff is people that were lucky enough to buy a couple of years ago during COVID, that they had savings and they decided to take a chance and then just buy a property. Either being a homeowner or investment property, there's roughly pretty much like 800,000 Australians that are going to go from fixed rate to pretty much variable. So that means that they're going to end up, if they're paying, for example, right now, roughly, I'm thinking $2,000, let's say, and then the huge increase on pretty much rates, that means that they're going to end up paying from 2K to like almost 3.5, depending on whatever rate they have. And then that's on someone that's has $500,000 on a mortgage, right?
Yeah, which
Like-
is actually not that much considering the scheme of Sydney and how we look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, but then it's a lot of money that's out of their pocket now. That's from savings going into the mortgage and sort of stuff. Now, if they own their property, that's where they want to live and that sort of stuff. They have a family. They'll have to try and survive, to be honest. Which is, it's sad, but it's the reality of a lot of these people. And then for the people holding investment properties, the reality in this part is that if they cannot afford to pay the bills and sort of stuff for that investment property, they're probably just going to hike the rental prices. Yeah, and then we see that happening already. Like this, the rental prices is going crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the other thing as well is actually in our situation, we fixed the rate at 1.89, which is going to expire end of this year. So not looking forward to it, but we had a good rate for a while. So it's definitely going to hit everyone. And on the banking side, a lot of banks are doing work on this as well. Like in our bank, we're definitely looking to actively call customers. We're sending letters out, letting them know that, if they are in any sort of difficulty, let us know early so we can assist. But a lot of banks are getting pretty aggressive with their pricing as well. So when the rates convert to variable, it was in the past, it was a case that you would just get a rate that wasn't very good. But now we're looking to actively call those customers and actually get them a good rate to make sure that they don't go anywhere else, because it is definitely the case that they've got brokers working on this to get them a better deal as soon as the fixed rate expires. So the banks are being quite sharp on this. So if you are in the situation and you've got a fixed rate that's expiring, definitely look to your bank for a good discount, because I'm very confident that you'll get it, because in this market, it's very competitive. Everybody's refinancing everywhere. There's cashbacks everywhere. So banks definitely want to look to retain customers. In fact, one of my colleagues actually got a $4,000 retention cashback to stay with their bank and not move anywhere else.
That's a lot of money. It's a good chunk of money.
Exactly. The bank was like, look, if you stay with us for the next 3 months, we'll give you $4,000 and we'll match your rate with the competitor. So that customer now, he was looking to refinance, but he has no reason to refinance now because he's got the cashback, hit the retention cashback, and he's also got the good rate. So he's going to be loyal to that bank for a while. So banks are being very, very aggressive on this. So definitely take advantage, because they definitely rip us off. But like in situations like this, you do have some leverage for sure. So
pretty much for our lucky listeners that actually have a mortgage, have a property, and they're suffering with the increase in rates, call the bank, take advantage of it, make this a reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are in this rental situation, can't say much. I mean, I was a renter and we definitely had a good landlord, but yeah, this thing is very different than what we experienced like in our situation. So definitely hope things get better. Is there anything else you want to go through as well on this topic?
I was going to say let's talk about the bit of a human impact on this case, because then rental crisis, people trying to find a place to live, it's just an awful situation. Because then if you don't get a place, you mind up on the street, couch surfing, then desperate to find a place. I know a couple of mates, when they were in this situation, they ended up pretty much sleeping in their car for a couple of weeks until they were able to find a place. And then when I've asked them how they managed to do that, it's they told me the best thing that they've done is pretty much they kept their gym membership.
Oh, because they can shower.
They could shower,
yeah,
get dressed, that sort of stuff. And then at least they could pay for dry cleaning and that sort of stuff to get clean stuff until things go better. But then that was very stressful for him because he couldn't find a place. It took him a couple of weeks to applications come through and get a place.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was living from his car for that amount of time because he couldn't find anywhere else. Which it was sad because he's like, dude, you should just call me, just crash on my sofa.
Yeah. But I think it's tough because it's not that easy for them. I mean, for us, it's easy to say, but for them, it's like they've got the whole pride thing as well. They don't want to be seen at that low moment, and it's a lot going on, a lot to go through as a person.
And if you are, just reach out, honestly.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because then people are willing to help you.
Yeah.
Even if you just met him and you put him on the spot, they will try and help you as much as they can.
So that is what we've got on this topic. A lot to go through, but because of the rental crisis, we're hearing a lot about it, and it doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon. We thought it might be good to talk about this, and we might follow up in a month or two, see how things are tracking. And if anybody from the community has been in the situation, definitely reach out. We can have an episode as well, talk about their story and what we can do to help. But that's it from us on this end.